I just posted the link in the chat room. It's disturbing and sickening, and it shows you Hellcare in Hell Realm. I call it Hellcare because they don't care. They show that they don't care. And some of us have experienced seeing similar things in person, disturbing things done by doctors, nurses, EMTs, perhaps pharmacists, family doctors. A lot of us have seen shit in this place. Maybe not all of us. Maybe they're not all bad. Quote or hashtag not all bad. But does it have to be all to see what a hell realm and hellcare is? For me, it doesn't have to be. But I know that that's the argument of demons on YouTube. They'll say it's not all. It's not all EMTs. It's not all cops. It's not all nurses. It's not all doctors. It's hashtag not all healthcare is bad or run by monsters and psychos. See, they think that's their defense, that it's not all. It's not all. Just like they say it's not torture every second of every day. We're not in constant torture and pain or severe. We're not being burned alive. They say it can't be hell realm. And I can show every day for hours that this is a hell realm. I can show evidence every single day for the rest of my life. So dishonest people are going to try to make you believe that it's not a hell realm because it's not all. That's their whole argument, that it's not all. Not all are bad. Does it have to be all? That's my question. Would it have to be every teacher that's a pedo, whether they're male or female, or every nurse? Would it have to be all of them? Would every single priest have to be a child molester for it to be bad? Would it have to be 100%? See, I don't view it that way. I know this is a hell realm. For me, it doesn't have to be 100%. It would be so obvious even to the drooling morons if it was 100%. They have a little bit here that isn't that way to fool the masses so they can point and say, it's not all. It's not all. It's not every single one. They're not all murderous demons. Not 100%. That's their whole argument. And that's weak and pathetic. It doesn't convince me. I see what this realm is. I see what this place is. And you know, if you have a loved one that dies and gets poor care and they fuck up and your loved one falls apart physically and dies, you'll see what I mean. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Sense of urgency. Urgency. Where was it? Where is it? You're right, Gary. Where is it? Where's their sense of urgency when it's a fucking emergency? They don't react that way. They react like it's an inconvenience. Like, oh, you got me out of bed. You got me out of bed in the middle of the night to get up and do this. They had to get out of bed to go do something. They signed up for that job. Imagine if every firefighter was like that. Oh, fuck, I got to get out of bed and go to a call and put out a fire. Well, fuck them. Let the house burn for the next 25 minutes. I'm going to take my time. I had to fight the healthcare system to try to get my mother help and pain management. When she was in severe pain after surgery, she'd had cancer for a decade. She's had treatments that destroyed her organs. She was in horrendous pain, and I have an RN in my family, and I was just fighting with them verbally, trying to push them to do their job, push them to do what they're paid for, what we pay huge taxes for in this fucked up country. I can't tell you the money I put in to healthcare without wanting to. It's just taken and put into that, or supposedly put into that. It's taken from my taxes, including in taxes when I buy major items. We pay a lot of tax in this country to get shit treatment. Shit treatment. And I'm sorry for you, Salty Siren, for what your dad endured. I hate this system, this hell realm and hellcare system. Whether it's funded by taxes, whether it's private, it's fucked up. And it shouldn't be this way. Do you know what a relief it is when you find one worker in a hospital that is intelligent, is caring, is aware, is doing their job, and does try to get you health care for a loved one? It's like a miracle to find that. It's like a goddamn miracle. That's what it is. It's like a miracle. It's like finding the right needle in a stack of needles and saying, I finally found the right one. It will do something. They have pain management teams. We have cancer centers. We have places that get billions of fucking dollars. And you might as well drop your loved one off in a third world country. The amount of money that goes into the healthcare system is beyond belief. And then what you get out of it is pathetic. It's pathetic. And if you find one person, it's like a miracle. Just one person. And a lot of these doctors and nurses, but doctors, especially surgeons, they feel like they're psychopaths. They feel like they're gods. They have a god complex. It's sickening. You know, one nurse, when I said that she was doing such a good job, she broke down and cried. She was basically in tears. And I said, you're one of the only good ones that I found here in this month of hell, trying to get real care for my mother. All right. You want to talk about a fucked up situation with security called and everything else. Went through so much with fucked up evil relatives calling security and all kinds of shit. It was just unbelievable. And I just had one goal, to try to get proper care for my loved one. That was it. That was all. And it's almost like mission impossible in this fucked up country. And this was a long time ago. This was over 15 years ago. It wasn't yesterday. It wasn't that's the way a lot of people assume. They'll say, well, it's gotten bad. It's been bad for 20 plus years. I don't know how bad it is today. I know how bad the emergency rooms are, but I don't know how bad surgeons are. And it's gotten worse, and it's degrading. It's getting worse. The more money we put into it, the worse it gets. The more millions of immigrants that come in. There's not enough doctors. There's not enough hospitals. There's not enough ER rooms. There's not enough. It's degraded. The quality of care has gone down, 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 year by year. I was at a hospital when my mom was getting surgery. They had to fly certain people out of that hospital that were bleeding to death on the operating table. They couldn't stop the bleeding. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have the skill, so they had to fly them to another Canadian city by helicopter. It's just fucking unbelievable. You'll be sitting there in the waiting room. They have special waiting rooms when you're waiting for someone in surgery. All right, and everybody in that waiting room is waiting for a relative or friend or loved one in surgery. And the things you hear when the doctors or surgeons are coming out, and you start losing more faith and more hope and more faith, and you start getting more worried and worried and worried because you're hearing these conversations with surgeons saying, "I'm sorry, we couldn't do anything. I'm sorry, we had to do this, we had to do that. Things went wrong. We don't have the skill. We have to fly them out." Just one horror story after another, and then it's taking longer and longer, and you're thinking, "Hey, my mom's surgery. They said it was going to be like an hour to an hour and a half, and it's already 2 hours, 3 hours, and it's just going on and on." And then they're saying things are going wrong, and it turns into a 4 hour surgery, and things. It's fucking horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. And then there's racism against white people too in certain places, certain hospitals and nursing homes and recovery places. And there's videos of this, of black staff mistreating the patients out of racism and hatred for white people. There's videos of old white men and old white women being mistreated. There's a lot of videos like this. Hugs to you, Trace. I'm sorry for what you've gone through, and it breaks my heart knowing what is going on in this place. And very few people speak up about it. Very few people tell the truth and just openly say, because they'll think, oh, it's negative if you say what's really going on. It's telling the truth about what's going on in this place. That's what it is. It's telling the truth about what's going on. I covered a video in, I think it was Louisville, Kentucky, and they were just wheeling old people out of the hospital and dumping them, and it was 30 degrees with frost and a little bit of snow on the ground, dumping them in the wintertime off the hospital grounds on the sidewalk in a hospital gown, dumping them. Security was wheeling them out of the hospital, and that, like old people, they couldn't even walk. That's what we're dealing with. There is no care in this fucking place. It's a sickening, demonic, disgusting hell realm with Hellcare. And if someone gets good treatment, it's the exception. It's an anomaly. They're lucky. And I know, I don't fault you. If you got whoever, if they might be tuned in watching this saying, I got good treatment, I'm glad for you. I'm happy for you. But that isn't the case a lot of times. That just isn't the case a lot of times, okay? It isn't. There are no words for how bad it is. And for the amount of resources that are poured into it, it is sickening, wrong, demonic. It should be 1,000 times better, not just a little bit better. That's what a lot of people lose sight of. It should be way better, way better. If people only knew and if they could comprehend the billions that are poured into this, if not trillions of dollars over the decades, trillions of dollars, and what you get is just garbage for it. So obviously they're siphoning that money into something. They feed you sugar. They feed you fucking Jello with sugar, and everything on a tray is sugar in a hospital room. They can't even feed you healthy food. It's garbage. And some of us are old enough to remember visiting, let's say, grandmothers. When I was a child, my grandmother died when I was in 3rd grade. They had real food at the hospital. It was a Catholic hospital. And it was actually, this will blow your mind, food that was cooked in the hospital. They had a real kitchen with food, not heated up under tinfoil or put in a microwave or shipped in from some fucking corporation and heated, reheated. It was actually cooked food. It was real food that they bring, and it smelled like real food. When you walked in a hospital room, they had real meals, and my mom would talk about that as well. When she was pregnant, they would get real food, real meals. When you go to the hospital to give birth, or whenever someone was in the hospital, that's the way it used to be. It's the way it used to be. It's a demonic hell care system. That's what I call it. And I'll type it in for people that might not hear me properly or think I'm mispronouncing it. Hell care. That's what I call it. Hell care. And I am sorry for anyone who's gone through this system with yourself and with loved ones. It's disgusting. It's shameful. There's no way it should be this bad. No way in the world unless it's intentional. That's how far I'll go. And it's beyond just ripping us off with money. It's intentionally bad. It's intentionally sadistic and cruel. It's demonic, okay? It is demonic. The whole system, top to bottom, from the cancer centers to the ER rooms to surgeries to family doctors for the most part to nursing, the whole fucking paramedics, the whole system, ambulances, all the way through. It's rotten. It's rotten. And during 2020, America has around 6 million or more nurses. How many stood up and said, this is wrong? This isn't right? How many stood up publicly out of millions and millions and millions working in healthcare and said, this is wrong? This isn't right. They're forcing this. This is wrong. And knew right from wrong. And instead of dancing in videos, because I saw a lot of dancing videos and a lot of disrespect towards dying people and towards people that maybe were in hospitals dying of something else and family members, and they're dancing on by. Pathetic. They show you what they are, okay? Now, I'm not going to say that no nurse in America or Canada is intelligent or aware or caring. It's not 100%, but I'll tell you, I've met a lot that are stupid, a lot that aren't caring, a lot that are easily duped, that are gullible, that just follow orders, that don't do any research, that can't think for themselves. I've known many nurses in my lifetime, and I've known a few doctors or two, and I've known a lot of teachers, dozens and dozens, and they're not the smartest people on earth, okay? Out of millions, yeah, out of millions across the U.S. and Canada. And then if you include Great Britain, but just out of America, millions. It's unfucking believable. And hardly anybody steps back and says, hey, wait a second, what are we paying for? Why does it cost so much? And why is the treatment garbage? We're getting ripped off. Like, this is obvious, but you can't convince most zombies that it's a complete fucking ripoff. The money that we pump into that, and then the money that we pump into charities like the Cancer Society, American Cancer Society, Canadian Cancer Society. Do you know how much money goes into that? What do you get out of it? What do you get? Oh, chemo and radiation, the same treatment that we gave 30, 40, 50 years ago. Nothing's changed. But billions and billions are pumped in every year. And nothing changes. Nothing improves. Okay? Nothing improves. Nothing improves. It all degrades. It gets worse and worse. And this does fire me up, but it shows where we are. It's another proof of what this place is. They're weak. They're weak spiritually, weak mentally. They don't have any strength, any will. They're afraid to be like, I agree with you, Gary. They're afraid to stand out and say, this is wrong. They don't have principles. They won't stand up and say, this is wrong. They just care about their job. And they'll say, what can I do about it? They'll just fire me. They don't want to lose their job, even if, no matter what they do to people. They'll do things that they know is wrong. They just want to get that job and get paid. That's what they want. They have less principles than a garbage man, a garbage collector. That's the reality. And they let on their heroes, and they want everybody to clap and applaud for them and call them the frontline heroes and all this shit. It's pathetic, man. It's pathetic. If anyone trusts them, you need your head examined. You have to be completely on guard. You have to have someone advocating for you if you're a patient, or you have to advocate hardcore for a loved one. If they don't have someone, they get even worse treatment because no one's there looking out for them. I noticed that in a nursing home when my grandmother in her final year, she was in her late 90s and she lived on her own until then. She finally ended up in a place where she needed care. And they knew I was coming in to visit so many times per week, not just once a week, not at the same time, not the same day, random times and random days. It wasn't the same every week. And I did that partially on purpose to keep them on their toes. And they knew I was her grandson. They didn't just think I was some dummy. I would talk to them and I would ask them questions and say, how's she doing? Has she been fed today? And did that on purpose. And then I would ask my grandmother to verify it after they left the room, let's say. I would say, hey, Grandma, did they feed you today? How many times did they come in your room today? And things like that. You got to do that. And then they would realize, oh, okay, you're the grandson and you come in all the time. And they'd recognize me being there, coming in. And then they realize, well, we better do our job right with this one out of this place, at least with this patient. Now, I'm not saying she was in a bad place, but for the amount of money that it cost for her to be in that place, she better well have had fucking good care for the many, many, many thousands per month that place was costing. Okay, you better get the meals and get a care and come into the room and things like that. Better be cared for and treated well and not abused. Of course, you shouldn't be in a place even that's way cheaper. Doesn't justify it, but I'm just saying that these places are costly, and it was her money funding it. I'm not claiming that I paid for her. It was my grandmother's money paying. Okay, but you got to keep them on their toes. You got to make sure that, oh, they see this person dropping in. I could drop in at any time. They could be in a room and I'd knock on the door and come in when they're in there or something. And if they were in there doing something, they might say, oh, please wait. And I'd just wait in the hallway. I'd say, okay, I'll wait here. But you got to check up on them and make sure they know, hey, they have someone that loves them and cares about them, and make sure that they're getting good care. And they will fucking explode if they don't. If I ever heard that she was being abused, this was years ago, she passed away, but she lived into her late 90s. If I had ever heard that she was being abused, I would have blown my fucking lid off the top of my head. And I don't lose my temper easily. I'm a fairly calm person, but I don't take shit. And I would never let someone I care about be abused. I wouldn't turn a blind eye if some stranger in there was being abused if I saw it in the hallway or heard it in a room or something. I wouldn't let that go on either. I would do something about it. I'd intervene. But I think this is important for them to know, hey, this person has someone who cares about them and will do something. So you better be on your fucking toes doing your job properly. I know you people get paid for it. That's terrible, Green Man. This place reveals what it is if you pay attention and you view the patterns and you listen to people's stories and you realize it's bigger than just one bad apple, two bad apples, a few bad incidents, this, that. It's big and it's bad and it's widespread. It's demonic. That's what this place is. That's why I call it demonic. It's not just lazy or incompetent fools or freaks. It's a demonic system. There are no excuses for the way that this is happening and these people to be paid. That's very good, Trace. That's what you have to do. That's what I encourage everybody here. If you have anyone who's in a nursing home or in a hospital or a hospice, once my grandmother was in the hospice, I tried to visit as much as I could, different times. So they couldn't just say, well, we just got to get through him being here from 5 till 7 or something like that. No, I could drop in the middle of the fucking night. They're open 24 hours at a hospice. You can go anytime you want. The door's always open for visiting. So I would go at different times. It wouldn't be the exact same time. Once in a while, they'd get a visit maybe at 11 o'clock at p.m. Other times it might be the afternoon. Other times it might be right after dinner or something. Okay? To keep them on their toes. My grandmother was happy when I visited no matter what time it was, but it keeps the staff so they don't know who's going to be visiting or when. And my grandma had other visitors. She had children and some other grandchildren, but you got to switch it up. Like, it's important. So they can't just plan for, oh, we'll do our job and then it's smooth sailing for the night. We can relax once these visitors are gone. We don't have to check on them anymore and see if they need anything. You know, no, you got to do your job. You can't be lazy. And I know a lot of these people want to be fucking lazy in these places. There was one there at the hospice, a Jamaican with a Jamaican accent, and she said to me, remember to take, I was leaving one night and she came in and she was checking on my grandma while I was there. And then she said to me, I said, oh, okay, Grandma, I'm going to go. And I was saying my goodbyes. And the hospice worker, I don't know whether she was a nurse or what she was, said, oh, remember to take your beer with you. And I said, my beer? And it was ginger ale. She called it a beer. She called my ginger ale a beer. I said, what are you talking about? I called her out on it right away. I said, what are you talking about? And I said, if that's a joke, it's not funny, for one thing. You're treating me like someone that brought beer in here and was drinking? I don't have any beer with me. What do you mean take my beer with me? Do you need glasses? Canada Dry ginger ale? That's not beer. That's a soda. Okay? Or in Canada, it's called a pop. Yeah. Stupid shit like that. So I wondered, how good is her English? Did you just immigrate here? Did you just get off the boat? All right. It is pathetic, but you have to. Red pill option. Otherwise, they will take advantage. If you don't, they'll plan around your visits, or they'll say, well, this person doesn't get very many visitors. We'll focus on the other patients, because in a hospice, they might have 6 rooms, 7, 8, depending on how big the place is. They're built like a house, but they're like little hospital rooms, but more comfortable, more homey. It's a better situation in hospice in that respect for the patient and for visitors, as long as the staff is doing what they're supposed to do. All right. It's important that they know that your loved one has someone who cares, visits, checks on them. This is important. I don't trust them. Any of these places. And then while you're there, you can see that some of them are much better than others. Hello to Phoenix. Hello to Rashawn. Hello to Red Pill Option. Anyone else who has joined, I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad that people keep their eyes on them at these places. Nursing homes, hospitals, hospices, wherever. It's heartbreaking to me that there are people in these places with no one visiting, no one helping, no one checking up on them, checking, making sure the staff is doing their jobs, and visiting. They're in these places dying alone, lonely. They're not all bad because they end up alone and lonely. Sometimes their family dies off. Sometimes they didn't have children. All right. I remember this was a long time ago, many years ago. I remember walking into that place and I would open the door and my grandma might be awake or she might be snoozing, but I'd open the door and walk in. I'd go visit. And my grandmother every single time would be so happy and so surprised to see me. It was like she had not seen me for 10 years. She'd be like, "Oh, Stephen, you came to visit me." And I'd be like, "Grandma, I was just here 2 days ago." You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that long since I would visited. I'd be like, "Grandma, I was here already this week. I was here the other day." And then sometimes I would get her in a wheelchair and take her outside to get some fresh air, which is what she loved the most. It was getting out of that room. It was a room with a bathroom, and it was like a living room, bedroom, and there was seating, and it wasn't a tiny, cramped hospital room. The nursing home room was fairly new and comfortable and expensive, but it was a fairly decent place for her to be. But I would take her out, wheel her around outdoors. She was very independent up until the point when she was put in that place. She didn't want to. She didn't want to be put there. She wanted to stay in her home her whole life. And she just, when she was still healthy, completely healthy, well into her 90s, she even had, untreated cancer that she just didn't do anything about. She just let it be and survived without doing anything, without touching it. We figure at least 10 years, if not closer to 15 plus years. No treatment. And that did not end her life. But she really enjoyed being wheeled around out to see the flowers and fresh air and not be cooped up because she was used to being able to go out into her garden in her backyard. She had flowers, she had roses, she had raspberries and peonies. These big flowers were one of her favorites, and she had different colors of roses that I would help her look after in her later years. And I'd go over and mow her grass and help her out and stuff like that, like maybe with moving things or clearing out some stuff in her basement. She had a house that had a basement and a main floor, kitchen, living room, and an upstairs with bedrooms. It was an older house and it was in good shape. It had a front porch. She called it a veranda. It was enclosed, and a back porch, and a beautiful little backyard, fenced in, with some little trees and a raspberry bush and flowers and some shrubs, and a little tool shed, stuff like that. And they had replaced her little back deck and stairs with pressure treated because it had rotted out over the years. So somebody, I'm not sure if it was my father or somebody else, paid to have that done at her house. But then one of the steps was getting loose. It was just nailed down, like 2x4 boards going up the stairs to this little back porch that led into the back of her house. So I said, "Grandma, I'll fix that for you. Do you have a hand?" Their grandparents had passed away, bothered to study hundreds of near-death experiences. They've never had their own near-death experience or out-of-body experience. Ignorant, that don't look, don't research, don't think, don't listen, don't pay attention. But I think the way that you speak of her, she probably was a good spirit. This has to be ended. This shouldn't exist. It should never have existed. This system, tricking good spirits and recycling them here, is a sick demonic system. That's what it is. And they don't deserve this. Yes, if we end this realm, she will be set free if this matrix is shut down. That's why it's so important. It's the most important truth topic, what this place is and what has to be done. And it will be. I'm going to cover a little bit of something here. That goes out to everyone, by the way. If you have loved ones that don't see, or you have loved ones who passed away years ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, it doesn't mean that that's over, them getting recycled and being here again, just like your pets. I don't give up on any of them at all. I don't give up. I'm not a being that gives up. I'm not someone who just gives up. People that have known me in quote real life or so-called real life know that. I don't just give up or give in. I'm extremely strong-willed and fierce-willed and stubborn. Someone who doesn't just say I quit or I can't do it. I don't do that. I don't do that. I'd rather be tortured than do that.